Well, welcome to Focus Today. I'm your host, Perry Atkinson, and delighted to have back in the studio our resident researcher. John Mittendorf's with us today. He works with Answers in Genesis, and he does quite a few series here with us on theDove, and we're delighted to have him back today. But today's very special because he's taken the subject of Christmas and narrowed it down. And here's what I want to tell you in advance before we get into this. When we get done with these two segments, you may want to go back to the Dove website and pick them up there on YouTube. If you are a Roku user, it'll be on the Roku. And then share this program with your family and friends as we deal with Christmas 2013, Where is Your Focus? So anyway, I think you'll find this to be pretty resourceful. Hi, John.
Good morning, Perry. I thought we would just take a quick break from our series we started last month on Is There a God? How do you prove the existence of God?
Right.
Because this is December.
Yeah.
And I started thinking about it because I thought, you know, it seems like this year, more than any other year, the Christmas season started earlier.
Yeah.
You know, Christmas, in fact, the Christmas tree lots are full now. You walk into the malls, here's all the Christmas decorations before Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Black Friday started early this year. And then what really grabbed my attention was when we got the Mail Tribune, you know, the last 3 or 4 days, that thing is about that thick, you know. By the time you pull all the ads out, you know, you get down to the paper, and the paper's about that thick, you know. So, you know, I think it's easy to get distracted from a secular viewpoint by the Christmas season with all of the hubbub and the traveling and the presents and getting ready, you know, and all that's fine. Yeah. But I think it does tend to dilute the real reason for Christmas and why are we really celebrating Christmas. And so,
well, we know that there's been a political correctness, and if not even an academic scrubbing of the meaning of Christmas. You know? And
taking Christmas out, you know. Yeah. I mean, you drive by the common Christmas tree lot, Xmas.
Yeah.
You know.
Oh, I can't stand that.
Yeah, we replaced Christ with X. Yeah. And you're taking Christmas really out of the Christian society, so it's just being minimized to Satan's delight, so to speak. So I thought we'd just take a few minutes this morning and just stop and just refocus on Christmas and consider 3 major points. Where did the name of Christmas come from? What is the true gift of Christmas? And then maybe some popular misconceptions about Christmas. And probably one of the biggest misconceptions about Christmas is how many magi traveled to see Jesus. Was it 3? Because that's everything you see on Christmas cards and posters and everything. You always see 3 wise men or magi traveling to see Jesus. Is that really what the Scripture says? and of course the answer is no.
No, several of them.
No.
And you know what? When the angel, there's another part of it. Well, we'll get into it later.
Yeah.
I'll hold off. Because I discovered something reading the Christmas story the other day. I was reading in Luke, and I discovered another little thought in there.
You did? Go ahead. Shoot.
Well, when the angel appeared to the shepherds by night, then the next line is, then the angel and the host of heaven.
The host of heaven, which would be angelic.
Angelic.
Beings, right?
So there is a great, first was the angel, then the whole host show up. Now, can you imagine these shepherds?
which are just common guys out in the fields with the sheep, right?
They're out there, you know, herding the sheep around. It's cold at night and all that, and all of a sudden an angel appears. That's one thing.
That's one thing.
But then they have the whole host
right.
show up and start singing.
Right.
And expressing what God is saying to them.
Right.
I'm going, and by the way, it goes on to say, and his favor towards man, basically those who accept his son.
Right.
And I'm going, wow, can you imagine the experience the shepherds had? No wonder they left everything and started heading out.
And how many angelic hosts are there? Millions, millions,
host.
Billions. Yeah, host.
Host,
yeah. So, and the skies probably lit up because they probably weren't in the dark, right?
Wouldn't you like to have an experience like that?
Oh boy, yeah.
Especially when you're going through a tough time, if God just kind of send an angel appear in your room and talk to you like that?
Yeah, yeah.
By the way, that's a series I want to do with you sometime.
What's that?
Why was there easier conversations with God in the Old Testament?
Okay.
And even in the New Testament, they had conversations with God as if he was a person in the room. Why can't we experience that? Why don't we handle that down the road?
All right, let's get into Christmas. Okay, why don't we start off, where did the name of Christmas come from?
Well, I'm assuming it's Christ's Mass.
Right. Christ must, and of course Christ needs no definition, but mas means celebration. So basically, the name Christmas basically means Christ celebration or a celebration of Christ, which is basically what Christmas is. And it's interesting that when you say, okay, where did the name of Christmas come from, and when did the Christmas celebration really start, you might make a good case for the fact that the celebration started when the hosts of heavens, like you just talked about, started with the shepherds, and of course the angels were also praising God also. So I think we can make a case for that's where it started. But where did it start, let's say officially, on this planet? Because I'm going to say just for this discussion that the heavenly host doesn't count for right now because they were in the heavens, right?
Okay.
Okay, where did it start on this earth? And the answer is we don't know.
I was going to say, you can't pinpoint a day.
You don't, because we don't know the actual date of the birth of Christ.
You know the season?
Well, there's various viewpoints on that. So to lock down one, I don't really think you can do that as a categorical statement. As a categorical statement.
Because if you take the Eastern calendar versus the Western calendar, the Eastern calendar, say they're more traditional.
Yeah, see, then you get into the calendars and all that. So, but in doing a little bit of research, I came across that Christmas is first mentioned by the early church father Sextus Africanus as being celebrated in AD 221. So it was officially being celebrated then, about 200 years after Christ. Now, was it before then? Maybe, probably, but he mentions it in 221 AD, which is kind of interesting.
Okay.
However, you also, or sometimes you hear the fact, well, Christmas basically just came out of the Roman pagan holiday, Saturnalia.
Right.
And that is not correct because from several viewpoints. I think it's going to be a stretch to say that pagans wanted to celebrate Christmas from Christ because basically the rejection of Christ started back in Genesis with Adam and Eve. They basically introduced this world to sin, you know, when they sinned. And so I don't think you can make a case for that. And also Saturnalia, which was the pagan Roman holiday which celebrated their god Saturn, was celebrated December 17th through the 23rd. So we celebrate Christmas on the 25th. So yeah, you can debate that all day long. It's a little stretch to overlap the two. And as I said before, we don't really know when Christ was born, the exact date. And yeah, both the dates are close. And but the Gregorian calendar is where December 25th came from, basically.
Okay. Isn't it interesting, the four Gospels, Luke chapter 2, basically a vast majority of that whole chapter
Matthew 1 and 2.
Deals with the birth of Christ. So it's important enough that all four Gospels talk about it.
Right.
You know, so obviously it's to be recognized.
Oh, definitely. But, you know, the key is why do we celebrate Christmas? And this was the second point that I was going to bring up, is the true gift of Christmas. Why do we celebrate Christmas? Is it because we want to have Christmas trees, we want to have lights, we want to go shopping, we want to do Black Friday, we want to be busy and drive around and all of that that's easy to get wrapped up in? Or is it time to stop maybe this year for the first time and really reflect on why we're celebrating Christmas, and what is the true gift of Christmas? It's Christ. And it's God who came to earth as a man and died on a cross, took all of our sins so that we can have eternal life with him and escape damnation. And if you stop and think about that, is that a reason to celebrate something other than the secular spend money, spend money, spend money?
Well, we attached St. Nicholas to it and morphed him into something that he wasn't.
Well, you know, Perry,
well, he was for children, but I mean, you know, we made this other image of it.
Yeah, and you know, along with that, you have Santa Claus, and you got the elves, and you got Rudolph, and you got Charlie Brown Christmas, and all that. And all that's fine, as long as you keep it in the proper perspective. But what I'm saying is it's easy to get wrapped up in the Christmas hubbub and the rush of the holidays. And by the way, there's a name you're starting to hear more and more and more now. Is holidays. season's greetings. You're seeing less and less of an emphasis on the word, Christmas, which is a celebration of Christ. And so I think in 2013, yeah, you know, we can still have a Christmas tree, still have presents, and enjoy all the things I think that the season brings, but I think there should also be an emphasis, particularly from each family, is why are we really celebrating Christmas and what the Christmas celebration really means and what the focus on that should really be. And I think if you look at it from that perspective, I think it puts a whole different spin on Christmas, and also I think tends to slow you down and draw you away from the secular approach of that.
Yeah, I think we're starting to see some signs now of the lack of materialism because it's so unfulfilling. We saw Black Friday this last...
Let me stop you just for a second.
Yeah.
When you say it's so unfulfilling, particularly when your next Visa bill comes the next month, right?
Well, yeah, buyer's remorse. But I think now with all the problems in the world, people are asking deeper questions than, you know, what do I want for Christmas or what, you know, what we need. I think people are saying, all right, what's this all about? Why do we do this? What's this really mean? Yeah. So the opportunities are... All right, we're going to take a quick break. When we come back, there's some very common Christmas misconceptions, and we're here to kind of twist your brain a little bit on some things
twist
that you
just
maybe
a little
have just taken for granted, or you've just taken as commonality, when in fact there's some things in there that aren't quite right. We'll straighten that out for you when we come back with John Mittendorf.
Not quite.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
We're back with John Mittendorf, and John is here today. Of course, he's our resident researcher, and he works with Answers in Genesis. By the way, John's available to do seminars in your church. I would recommend for your any of your Sunday school classes, or just come in and take an evening or Wednesday night service and do any of the seminars that he does on evolution versus creation. It's fascinating. Today, we're just taking the subject of Christmas and trying to deal with its obvious meaning and its purpose. And there's a list here that John has put together, some common Christmas, misconceptions.
Misconceptions, right.
All right, let's get into those real quick.
Out of Matthew and Luke. Okay, let me go down these just real quick, Perry, and then while I go down these, the people that are watching and listening, they can also think about this just for a second, because this is common stuff. When Mary and Joseph arrived in town, Mary was in labor, so Joseph was forced to accept any available lodging. True or false? You've got the notes, so you're ahead of this game just a little bit here.
Not true.
That's false.
Okay.
Luke 2:6 indicates that, and I'm quoting, "So it was that while they were there, they had already been there." And why were they there? They were there because of the census. Okay? Okay. While they were there, the days were completed for her to be delivered. Right. So they had been there for a period of time. It doesn't tell us how much, but they had been there. That it came time for her to be delivered. So that kind of eliminates that one. Number two, the New Testament uses the Greek word kataluma that is translated as inn. Therefore, kataluma means small hotel. And you've probably heard the phrase, well, when they got into town, they went to the inn, knocked on the door, and the innkeeper came out and said, well, there's no room. And so then they looked around, they finally found the manger, and then while they were in the manger that night, that the innkeeper's wife came out and brought him towels and water and helped her deliver. Yeah. False.
Okay. All right. What happened?
The Greek word kataluma is best translated as guest room. And we know from archaeology now that a lot of the houses, and particularly in that area, you could have a multi-story house or even a single-story house, but they would have like a room underneath the house that they use for the animals. And they would use that to protect the animals during the winter and also provide a little additional warmth for the house. So most likely, that's where they were. Even if they were in a house of a relative, which makes sense because if you were going to go to Jerusalem for the census, you would probably stay or lodge with relatives of your family, correct? Mm-hmm. So that is a very real possibility. So it's also a very real possibility because the house or the rooms are already taken, that they wound up in the, let's say, the downstairs room, which would have been for the animals, which was underneath the house, basically. Okay?
So it's just a minor adjustment.
Just a
major thing. It's just a minor thing.
Minor adjustment, right.
Okay, all right.
The New Testament indicates, and this is a question, that Joseph and Mary spent the first night in a stable. True or false?
I'm trying to think of the story.
Well, false.
Okay.
There is no biblical mention of a stable, only a manger. Okay. So if we go back to the room concept underneath the house for the animals, basically manger can be described as a feeding trough for the animals, which is a common picture that you see. That is correct. That is correct.
Right.
Okay. So that also makes sense. Today we're aware through archaeology that the common home, as we just mentioned, was over a manger-type area for animals.
Okay.
And additionally, manger was generally the term used for a feeding trough for animals. So that portion is correct.
Okay.
That portion is correct, okay? The bottom line is that when Christ came to this earth, he came in the most humblest portion or area possible. Mm-hmm. He wasn't born into an Egyptian hierarchy like Moses was. No, he started right at the bottom, right with the common folk.
Okay, with the animals.
Yeah, with the animals, yeah.
Okay.
Next, the New Testament indicates that the innkeeper told Joseph and Mary there was no room for them in the inn. True or false?
True.
False.
False.
The biblical account does not mention an innkeeper at all. Now you got to read Matthew and Luke.
Okay.
An innkeeper is not mentioned.
What's it say?
It just says, I'll go back to Luke 2:6, indicates that so it was while they were there, the days for her to be completed, and she delivered. There's no innkeeper mentioned. Interesting.
I don't have my Bible here to challenge him, so I don't.
You're going to have to trust me on that one.
Okay.
Okay. Next question. Some stories indicate the innkeeper's wife brought towels and water to Mary and assisted Joseph in the birth of the baby Jesus. False. Again, there is no mention of an innkeeper's wife in the biblical account.
Okay.
Okay, that's it. Pretty simple. But I think it shows you how the Christmas story has evolved, although it's somewhat true. And we're coming to the next one, which is the Magi. That one is not true either.
Okay.
Yeah, it's okay, but is it biblically accurate? Not really. Not really. Okay, next question. The New Testament says 3 wise men traveled to see the new baby Jesus and were present the night of his birth. True or false?
No, that's not true.
That is false. Matthew 2:1 indicates wise men from the east came to Jerusalem. Could have been 5, could have been 10, could have been 15. Where the 3 comes from is the presents that they presented to Jesus, which was gold, frankincense, and myrrh. And that's where the 3 comes from.
Right.
Yeah.
When in reality it was several months later, wasn't it?
Well, you know, it could have been up to 2 years later because, and this brings up a whole other question, Perry, is the star. And you're seeing some information now that people feel the star was a supernova and a comet and all this stuff. But I think a lot of apologists don't think that's correct because basically the only people that saw the star were the wise men because Herod had to ask them about the star. The Magi knew, Herod did not. So if it would have been a supernova, if it would have been something like that, everybody would have seen it, when in reality, basically only the Magi were the ones that saw it. So they were the ones, and it led them to Jerusalem, and it actually at the end stayed right over the house. So they knew exactly where the house was that Jesus was, because you remember Herod, as a result of meeting the Magi, wanted to kill all the children 2 years or under. So the Magi came from the Far East, and they feel that's probably Persia. And so how long would have taken them on camels to go from Persia, see? And so it wasn't within a day or two of Jesus. It could have been up to 2 years later. Up to 2 years later. So Jesus could have been a 2-year-old boy by the time the Magi came, which is not really ultra important. It's just that we tend to think, that you see, here's Mary, here's the baby Jesus in the manger, and here's the Magi there with their 3 gifts.
Yeah, the typical nativity scene.
A typical nativity scene.
Right.
Yeah, that's okay, but that's not really biblically accurate. So does that really take away from the biblical story?
No.
Not really. Not really.
All right.
Lastly, and this one you hear occasionally, true or false? The Christmas tree represents the Asherah pole, which was mentioned. It's mentioned all the time in the Old Testament. It represents the Asherah poles mentioned in the Old Testament.
No.
And that is totally false, because the Christmas tree is a German tradition introduced by Prince Albert in 1841. So it's got nothing to do with secular, the secular argument, well, Christmas is basically out of the pagan holiday Saturnalia. No, it's not. Well, your Christmas tree is an outgrowth of the Asherah pole in the Old Testament. No, it's not. Basically, Christmas is a celebration and a worship of Christ. Christmas, which is a celebration of Christ, and that's basically what Christmas is. And you know what's interesting? I think when you look at all of the holidays throughout the year, Easter, Thanksgiving, Memorial Day, Labor Day, and the rest, even Veterans Day and so on, are they all important? Yes. Why? Because it gives us a time to stop and reflect on what that day is, if we do that. But I think it's unarguable that probably the top holiday of the year is what? Christmas.
Yeah.
Why? Because it's a worship, a remembrance, a celebration of what Christ did for us. And that is the key.
Well, and it's really an incredible opportunity to share Christ.
Oh, particularly, particularly, you know, Perry, that's really a good point, because particularly with the family, in a lot of family gatherings, and you'll have a large family gathering in a lot of cases in homes, that you can have a percentage of non-Christians there, and to stop and say, what does Christmas really mean to you, or what are you thankful for this year? And even though a person is not a Christian, they have to stop and think and reflect on what happened 2,000 years ago.
Yeah, I really hope that the least of which we take advantage, if I can use that word, of Christmas to witness, to share Christ, to share what he means. The best story you can share with anybody is what Christ has done for you. And, you know, this, again, if you need one of our devotionals as a tool to share Christ with somebody, if somebody say, what's Christmas mean to you? I say, well, read this.
Right. Yeah.
You know, or something like that. Watch the Dove, or read chapter 2 of Luke, or something like that. I think there is a hunger, John, especially here at the Dove. We get a lot of phone calls and emails, and when you boil it down and you begin to look through there and you sift it down to what are these people saying, it comes down to 2 questions. Who can I trust? And what is truth?
And what is truth?
And what is truth? Those are the 2 things that people are starving for, and Christ is the answer to both. And I would say that Christmas becomes one of our greatest opportunities to witness. You know,
would you say that the search for truth is probably even more important now because the political landscape,
right,
which to a large degree has been a foundation of this country, is in such a mess, and it's just become common that somebody gets caught doing something, well, I didn't do that, and you can trust me, and then we come to find out that's not true at all. And it's just becoming more and more common that the leaders in Washington, whether it's Republican, Democrat, or Independent, doesn't make any difference, that everything is in a mess and getting worse. And so, as you say, what is truth? What is real?
What is truth? And people want to be able to trust something. And the systems, you can't trust the systems, but you can trust Christ.
Right.
You can't trust the politicians, but you can trust Christ. And that doesn't mean, that's a broad statement, that doesn't mean they're all bad. But what I'm saying is that it's the greatest opportunity we have as believers to share Christ is this time of the year.
Yeah.
You know, and I hope we take full advantage of it. By the way, mention your book quickly as we
a great book on this subject, if people are interested in this program this morning, is The War on Christmas by Bodie Hodge, and that's a Master Books book. It's a very well done book, and it takes you through the entire Christmas process.
Okay, and that's available at where?
Master Books. You can get that from Answers in Genesis.
Okay, all right, there you go. Answers in Genesis. John, thank you, and Merry Christmas.
Well, Merry Christmas to you, the staff, and actually to all the listeners of the Dove.
God bless you.
Hi, I'm Daniel, and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Well, I am really honored to have with us today Theodore Shoebat, Ted, son of the former PLO terrorist Walla Shoebat, author of For God or For Tyranny. Now, there's a picture of that book on the screen, those watching on theDove TV, and if you haven't read that, you ought to. It's just a fabulous book. And both father and son are passionate about persecuted Christians around the world, and a subject that we probably could spend a lot of time on, but nobody can tell it more passionately and believable as Ted, as he shares with us today. Hi, Ted. How you doing, my friend?
Good to be on, sir.
Good. God bless you. Merry Christmas, by the way.
Too. Merry Christmas to you, too, sir.
It appears that the persecution of Christians around the world is intensifying. We're hearing stories, seeing video of Christian persecution at levels that I don't know, my concern is, Ted, we're becoming immune to it. We're just kind of letting it's happening somewhere else. But is it growing worse?
It's growing worse every month, and as the years go by, I mean, right now the deaths of Christians by under Muslim hands and other faiths as well has been within the range of the thousands. But give it a number of years, and you will see these numbers grow to the hundreds of thousands, and then eventually it will grow to the millions, because this is how Holocausts evolve. They evolve starting from just hundreds, thousands, 100,000s, millions. As long as the persecutors are given the liberty and the suffrage to do these sort of things, then they will continue on and they will not stop. And the violence will continue to plunge deeper and further into the abyss. And just to give you some examples of recent persecutions that have been going on, we had, for example, in Nigeria, in various villages, Boko Haram, which is a major Islamic terrorist cell in Nigeria, they've massacred over 70 people just in a matter of just within a day, actually. And amongst those murders was actually a 1-year-old boy. They also murdered a number of pregnant women, and they also killed the 90-year-old grandmother. Now, with that said, I also want to talk about Central Africa. Central Africa has not been getting the coverage it deserves because the Christian persecution there is so disturbing that it needs to be told. For one thing, you have villages that are being utterly annihilated. There are multiple villages in Central Africa which are completely deserted. They've been completely depopulated. And for example, there's a cathedral in Central Africa which has now been sheltering around 35,000 or 40,000 people and hiding them from the Muslims. Not only that, but you have pregnant women being butchered, infants being butchered. You have, for example, there was one horrifying story of people being fed to crocodiles. There was one story that a woman was killed and her baby was found eaten alive by a boa constrictor. Now, with all of these horrific stories said, there is hope. This is the hope that I want to bring, that Christianity is reviving something that it once had. And that is the spirit of militancy. If you study Christianity and you go from the first 300 or so years of Christianity is pretty much all persecution. But in the year 312, something happens. Christianity infiltrates the government. Constantine becomes the first Christian emperor, and you have a war between the Christian emperor Constantine and the pagans, the pagan Emperor Maxentius. Then after that, a little bit later, you have a war between the Christian army of Constantine, with the cross being advanced as the armies go, as the Christian ranks go, fighting against the pagan tyrant Licentius. And as you go down the road, you find a myriad of wars between Christians and pagans, Christians and Zoroastrians, Persian Zoroastrians. Let's not forget the Crusade of Vahak, or Vahan, or the Armenian Church, how they rose up to fight against the Zoroastrians in war.
Right.
to fight persecution. And then you also have the Crusades, the Christian church versus the Islamic mosque, the cross versus the crescent. Now, this spirit of Christianity, which is alive, has been put to sleep, was put to sleep really by the Enlightenment. But because of persecution, it is reviving. In Central Africa, there is a major Christian militia called the Anti-Balaka, which means in English, literally, the anti-sword or the anti-machete, the militia against the sword. Mm. And the violence between Christians and Muslims have become so intense. France has sent around 1,000 troops into Central Africa very recently. Not only that, but the UN is getting involved in this. It's going to, if it continues on the way it's continuing right now, mark my words, it's going to commence into a major civil war. Because right now, the carnage is great.
A couple things I just want to point out here. We read recently, just earlier in November, North Korea executed people in 7 different stadiums on the same day, some for just having a Bible. We know that the pastor in Iran, even though with all the negotiations over nuclear armament, that pastor was shipped off to a camp where people don't even appear again. These are some of the ones that are in the news and are big, but what region seems to be having the most Christian persecution? Is it the Middle East?
No, the most Christian persecution is taking place in Nigeria, out of all places. Wow. And that leads me to another very important fact that is happening right now. The violence in the jihadism in in Africa is so violent and is so immense that the nation of Angola, and I know people are denying this, but when you look at the recent reports that have come out, the nation of Angola, they're closing down mosques. And at first, I wrote an article about this, and it went viral. And there were people out there who were denying it, saying, oh, no, Angola isn't doing anything. And then you look at the recent reports that have come out on Reuters recently, just a couple days ago. Angola has admitted that they are now closing down mosques. And there was actually a very reputable journalist from Angola who recently wrote that it is true what's taking place, and he has seen the memos that the Angolan government is giving to these mosques saying, listen, you have 72 hours to close down the mosque or we're going to bulldoze it. And people say, oh my goodness, this is so horrific. You know, you have Muslims in England who are now protesting, and you have some liberals who are saying, well, this is intolerant. Listen, this is the only way you're going to get rid of the problem. And if Christians out there want to say that, oh, this is not biblical, listen, like I said, look at the history of Christianity. Look at the history. Look at the Battle of Lepanto, where you had an entire naval army on an ocean forming the actual structure of a crucifix, fighting against the Muslims who formed the literal structure of a crescent. It was the crescent fighting against the cross, a battle between the cross versus the crescent. And as Gideon took down the crescent idols of Zeba and Zalmunna, so is the church obligated as well to take down the crescent idols of Islam.
All right, let me ask you this, Tic, because we're going to run out of time here. It appears at this point that the policy and philosophy of the current administration in the White House seems to be more abetting those who would persecute Christians than who would be in defending Christians. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, I will definitely comment on that. For one thing, we know for a fact that the U.S. has been giving weapons for years now. Semi-automatic. Now they're openly giving very deadly, lethal automatic weapons to the Syrian rebels. The Syrian rebels, the FSA, butchered over 40 Christians in the village of Sadak. They butchered a myriad of other Christians in the city of Malula. They've butchered over 1,000 Christians so far. And those are only the recorded murders. We know there's others that have never been recorded. They killed a Christian and burnt a crucifix on his face. Not only this, but you have in America the same people who are supporting the states punishing Christians for going against the homosexual agenda are the same people who would support giving weapons to the rebels in Syria who are now killing Christians. Oh. And you look at the nation of Russia, what the nation of Russia is doing. Russia has officially said mosques will no longer be built in Russia. They recently banned a particular translation of the Quran. In the future, as this persecution intensifies, you are going to be seeing a sift, really, a breaking point between the true Christians who want to fight against Islam and the false Christians who are going to say, well, let's all just get along.
Okay.
And that's what it's going to end up into.
Ted, you're inspiring. How do people correspond with you and connect with you?
You can go to shoebat.com, shoebat.com, and we have contact information there. You can send us an email directly through that website.
All right. Well, keep me informed and all of us informed on this persecution.
Definitely.
Because, we just came through Thanksgiving, and I'm wondering, do we give thanks for what we have? I mean, let's face it, we're taking so many things for granted while some of our brothers and sisters are dying for their faith.
Absolutely. Also, don't forget, rescuechristians.org. rescuechristians.org. Go to that website. Give what you can, $5, $10, it doesn't matter. All the money that is given goes directly to supporting the persecuted in Pakistan, all of it.
All right. Thank you, Ted.
RescueChristians.org. God bless.
All right. God bless, and best to you and your dad. Say hi to your dad for us.
You too. I will. Thank you.
God bless. All right. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
All right, welcome back. I'm delighted to have in the studio with us today Devon Rickabaugh. She is the superintendent of Grace Christian Schools and Cascade Christian High School. And need I say any more? Hello!
Hello!
Hello! Congratulations, challengers. There it is, big page, sports page. Whoop, get the right picture there, upside down. You won the 3A football championship and against Vail over the weekend. Congratulations.
Pretty proud of them. We're pretty proud of our boys.
I can imagine. You haven't walked the halls yet today?
Not yet, but I'm looking forward to it.
I imagine there's just a whole
big
lot of
celebration.
Yeah. Well,
big
congratulations. Just your second state championship.
It is, but not for a few years. So the boys are pretty excited. They've worked, really, I think since about 8th grade, thinking they wanted this win, and they did it.
Well, and this is the new division too.
3A, yeah. It's not, the last win was 2A.
Yeah. So they bumped up a division.
They did. We're pretty proud of them.
Congratulations to everybody out there.
Thank you.
Well, coming up December 5th is one of the great events here in Southern Oregon. It's called the Gift of Grace, and this is one of your major fundraisers there for all the schools. But this has just turned out, you guys just do everything so classy. So tell us about it.
Well, we're just looking forward to it. It's the first Christmas holiday party of the season, and it's this Thursday evening on December 5th. We have a reception at 6 o'clock and dinner and a really sweet program with a lot of our kids performing, speaking and performing. So it should be pretty nice. It's a fundraiser, part of our annual fund. Twofold though, really just a thanks to our generous donors for their wonderful gifting. This fundraiser is specific to our needs-based financial assistance. So the money goes directly to kids to be at Grace and Cascade.
So kind of like a scholarship fund.
It is. And we've awarded over $500,000 this year to kids, deserving kids, families that wanted their kids there, kids that want to be there, and they're doing great. They're doing very well. So. Well,
what do people do to attend?
Well, they can call. The number is 541-772-0606.
Okay.
Call us and come, because we would welcome you. We're hoping you and Sue will come, and anyone in the community that knows Grace or Cascade, would like to learn more about us, hear our kids, or have given in the past and just want to hear what God's doing in the heart and life of our school. Yeah.
Well, it's an amazing. Grace Christian School is from what grades now?
Preschool, 3-year-olds to seniors.
To seniors.
Yeah. So on 2 campuses, the Grace campus over on Crater Lake, preschool through 8th grade. So the primary group, the elementary and middle school, and then, of course, our high school campus off of Chevy Way, Cascade Christian High School.
Yeah, and growing.
Yeah,
growing.
We are.
All right, so the evening does have some entertainment. What else is part of the fundraising?
Well, we'll have some speaking. Just share a little bit about our history, where we've come, and our vision for the future. God's plans for us and His future glory in the lives of our kids and what He's doing.
What is ahead for you? Are you the largest in the state now?
Yes. Actually,
the largest Christian school,
largest K-12 Christian school in the state.
Really?
So it's humbling. You know, we're excited, we're proud, because we believe we're doing a good job. We're preparing our kids well, and we want to continue to be recognized for our scholastic achievement, but also just that spiritual peace that we bring into the lives of kids. They, just like our win this weekend, you know,
that's amazing.
It's an amazing win, but those are kids that are academically strong and spiritually strong. They stand up for the Lord, and they live out their lives, sort of the kids talk about, in a radical sort of way for Jesus.
That's wonderful.
Yeah,
that's wonderful. So what's in the future? What do you think God's telling you? Are you gonna? What's your big project?
You know, we have some phenomenal people. Both our school board and our foundation board. We just met for a full afternoon doing some strategic planning, and there looks to be opportunity to look back at that Table Rock Park and pursue that again. So that's in the throes, and we're pretty excited about what God's doing there. And we, you know, I think in the future we see our middle school moving over onto that campus and growing there. There's such an opportunity for middle level kids.
So that would be 6, 7, and 8?
Well, it could be 6, 7, and 8, or 7 and 8. We'll have to kind of evaluate what that looks like. But we have space over there right now, and the opportunity, if the Lord provides that for us, we're ready to roll. Yeah.
Well, it's been fascinating, and you know, to have all of this in Southern Oregon is just phenomenal. And this has been done by, first of all, a need for quality Christian education, where you blend the academics with the spiritual life, and you guys do that first class from preschool all the way through high school. The testimonies as the alumni come back and how they approach college and life after high school has just been phenomenal.
It really is. And the alumni that come back and work in our valley, and how well they do, and how they're recognized for just a great work ethic and strong moral values, and just that Christ-centered sort of outworking of their lives. That's pretty cool. Yeah. And we're grateful for that. And just the fact that our kids academically, we reach a wide range of students. We reach those kids that are academically strong, scholastically strong, and head for those AP classes and concurrent credit classes and scholarships and get into these great universities. But we still are there for kids that maybe struggle a little bit with academics, and meet those needs differentially and help them to have success with their learning. And that's meaningful to us.
Well, and I think another thing that makes all of you so rounded out, of course you have an athletic program, football, yay. Again, congratulations to the Challengers for their 3A state championship win. But you got baseball, and what else you got? Volleyball?
You're going to ask me. They're going to love this. Okay, football, baseball, boys and girls basketball. We have this phenomenal new floor in our gymnasium.
I haven't seen it yet. I haven't seen it yet.
You have to come see it.
Well, I poked my nose in there when they were putting the new one down. I thought, boy, what a project.
It's beautiful. And just the
And you're going to walk on it on Thursday? You're going to let everybody walk on it?
Carefully.
Okay.
And a beautiful flag that comes down. Just that great sense of patriotism that we all believe in and feel. So you'll have to come. It's pretty stunning.
Okay, well, hopefully we'll be neighbors soon. In fact, we will be neighbors soon.
Well, we are so delighted about that, and keep talking about that too.
Yeah,
that came
we
up
want to start, we
yeah.
want to get more students involved in here, what we do here at the Dove, and training them, and so they can go on and maybe into broadcast journalism from a Christian perspective.
We like that.
And so we're looking forward to that. So once we're settled, hopefully, you know, next year we'll be working together a little closer on some things. That's really neat.
Good.
Well, the big event is coming up Thursday, and it's called Gifts of Grace, and it's really a fantastic evening, a reception from 6 to about 6:30, then dinner, and then some student entertainment, and it really is a great thing. And I would encourage you, if you're eyeballing putting your kids in school, maybe you're already there, but if you're thinking about maybe moving your child over to a faith-based school, and I mean, let me be a bit more specific, Bible-based school. There we go.
Yeah.
The Grace Christian School / Cascade Christian High School is top-notch, the biggest in the state. So they need to RSVP, right?
They do. We would love that. Yes.
And that is 772-0606. Okay, 772-0606 if you want to attend.
Please come.
And be a part of that. Yeah, it's a lot of fun. You got some great events throughout the year, too. I know some of the auctions and things you do down the road. But of course, our oldest son was over there teaching in Mr. Hillis' class.
Well, he's not done.
Oh, okay. So you got him for more?
Yes,
Yeah.
we're not letting him go now. We have
Yeah.
him kind of as a little adjunct instructor there, and the kids love him. He's doing an amazing job. So I got in there, we did some role playing, and I was the governor. And
You were the governor?
Yes, I was the governor.
Okay.
And the kids are learning because they're enacting out these bills and passing of bills and so forth, and we've really enjoyed him, so I do want him back.
Oh, okay. Well,
Yeah.
grab him when he's not fishing.
Yeah.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Anyway, just a full arrangement. So what are some of the other electives you have there at the high school?
Well, we have a core of electives. Of course, we have our choral program, the different levels of choral and band, but we have some other the home economics kinds of courses, different cooking. The kids love that. The classes, technology, the computer kinds of classes. We also have fly fishing. The kids like that. There you go. You could come over and do something there. So just quite a little variety of opportunities for our kids in the way of that.
Check it out, and of course a tour. You can always get a tour.
Always a tour. Take a look Tuesdays. Always on Tuesday.
Really? Is that what you do?
Well, anyway, any day, but we advertise always on Tuesdays.
On Tuesday,
we're always available. We would love that.
Well, Devon, thank you for coming by, and I just want to again really encourage you to pray about this, and if you can attend, it is this Thursday. I know there's a lot going on this week with all the other events going on, but this is one that really has eternal significance, and training these students and heading them out in life. I tell you, we've had some of them come by here and poke their nose in the door, and you know what's amazing to me is that these young people, they're so digitally savvy.
Oh, they are.
How do you keep them unplugged so that they actually learn it?
They like to plug right back in when they're in those halls, but in the classroom they're learning.
Yeah, okay, Well, and again, I know computer science is part of your curriculum over there, and you got a wonderful lab.
We do.
Man.
We do. And always keeping it updated, working towards that, so yeah.
It's just fabulous. Well, anyway, 772-0606 is the number. It's coming up this Thursday night, and again, it's going to be there at the Pavilion. They call it the Pavilion, with this beautiful new floor.
Yes.
Did you put your logo in the middle of the floor?
Yes.
You did? You paint it, or how did you do that?
Oh, don't ask me how. I don't know.
Well,
but it's beautiful.
I poked my nose in the door, and I saw that project, and I go, first thing I asked was, did somebody turn the faucet on and the floor get damaged? What happened? You know, but it was just time for a new floor.
It was time. Well, we wanted to make it more accessible, so we built the floor out into a third gym because we have that partnership with the city and the shared facilities. So it provides us gym space, them gym space, and of course us the facilities at US Cellular. So it really is a community opportunity then for us. Which
Did it go all the way to the stage?
It does now. See, you're going to have to come over. It's beautiful.
I got to go see it. Yeah. All right. Well,
all right.
Thank you for what you do, and blessings to you and your entire staff. It is top drawer over there.
Good.
Tuesday, whether you want to visit the Grace Christian Schools there at the Crater Lake Avenue campus or out at Chevy Way, In either case, it's worth the tour. But if you're part of the school or you're thinking about maybe a student going there in the very near future, I would encourage you to participate in the Gift of Grace coming up this Thursday night. It'll be starting at 6 o'clock and go to about 8:30, and includes a reception, a dinner, and some great entertainment with the students. So, Devon, thanks.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
We love the partnership we have with you guys, especially broadcasting the games when you win.
Right.
We'll see you next time on Focus Today.
Hi, I'm Jim, and I work at theDove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.